if you're looking at whether CUET will necessarily result in the right students getting selected for the right course and for the right reason, and will it reduce the pressure that students face in preparing for the board exams? Well, if you look at countries which have large common entrance exams, like China, they have the Gaokao, and if you look at South Korea, they also have a common entrance exam, CSAT. And if you look at the, what happens in their system is that a lot of students end up going for coaching classes to, clear those exams, though it's supposed to be based on what they are actually doing in their grade 12. Which is what I think the CUET is trying to achieve. It's based on the NCERT. So I guess the premise on which it's going to be designed is that it, students don't have to necessarily go for coaching classes. And, in addition to their board exams, this is going to be another way in which, the right student is going to get into the right course. But I mean, we don't have any data from other countries as well, whether this is necessarily the best way to go. It depends on who you talk, and you might get different opinions. In Australia, there is no common entrance exams. There is the Australian tertiary admission rank. So based on what students write in their year 12 in each state, the state will publish a rank. It just shows the relative position of the student compared to the others in the state, and the universities actually use that rank along with some other adjustments. Maybe they might ask for a portfolio if they're getting into performing arts and visual arts, or in some cases they might ask for a statement of purpose, which basically the students have to explain why they are choosing a particular course, how it is connected to their background, and what are their future goals, and how this course is actually going to help them get there. So in addition to the what is called the ATAR, this rank, based on their grade 12, they would have some other requirements just to get the right student to the right course, because obviously for the university, employability matters, ranking matters, and if a lot of ranking is also based on successful graduate outcomes. So it's very important for them to attract the right people into the right course, and then invest in their professional growth so that at the end of the course, the graduates are satisfied and they have good outcomes, which also means employers are happy because they're getting the right fit. And some graduates then, get into maybe research if that's what they want to, or some may want to even start their own business. So that's like an Australian perspective. And today I just want to briefly share with you the model. What does Australia do to actually deliver this sort of human resource strategy, which seems to work, and it's without like a common entrance exam. So I'll just quickly share my screen and take you through this particular model as a solution, may not be the solution. This is the current situation that maybe India is facing, and a lot of them have, very eloquently described it. Though the career journey and the talent pipeline is a continuum, and it logically starts in school, there is a lot of mismatch that happens when students leave school. So our schools actually preparing students for the world of work and further study, and that's the big question. And how does India fare in a lot of the sort of metrics such as PISA, which basically looks at that, are schools preparing students for that transition into the workforce and to further study? And India doesn't fare very well in that sense, because this continuum is quite disparate. There's some ad hoc things that happen in schools. I mean, maybe there is life skills, there are some sort of career guidance, but it's not mandated. And it depends on which school you go to, how well actually you get good advice and guidance. And then in the university, there's a lot of pressure on the placement cells to somehow magically place students into the workforce. And that also drives the admission. But employers always complain that they're not getting the right fit, for the workforce. So though there is a continuum, you can see there is no data that's transferred. There's no data about the world of work that's coming into the schools when students are making decisions at those critical points, like when after 10th, deciding on what subject stream to do, or when they are in their 12th standard, deciding on what sort of career that suits their unique profiles, and how do they actually get a foot in the door, and what sort of training is needed, and what other skills and values are needed to access that career. So there is no flow of data, and the world of, and people work in silos. So everybody sort of does their thing, but as a continuum, I think we are not seeing the kind of results that a country like India needs to, because it's got the highest youth population in the world. And it is like the hub for skilled workforce for the entire world. I think we need a structured framework to get this model right. We can't have a fragmented approach. We can't have ad hoc things. It has to be a unified approach and part of the National Human Resource Development Strategy, though we are talking about just a small aspect of it, which is CUET, which is that step between the end of school and the start of tertiary studies. And a lot of speakers, presenters alluded to this, ideal model, which is, the students should be able to identify who they are. They must also understand the changing world of work. They must be able to self-evaluate and find their best fit. And they also must be able to create a plan and implement it. So that's a big ask, and these are not things that are easy even for an adult, leave alone a 17-year-old child. These are very complex skill sets. The skill set of decision-making, planning, executing. So it's not a quick fix solution. You can't depend on one test, which is a snapshot of a person at a given point in time, to determine their entire or the starting point of their career. So if we want this model to work, we need a very structured, continuous approach alongside the academic rigor that Indian schools are very, very good at. Alongside that, you need a parallel stream almost to develop these competencies, so that when they leave school and before they choose whichever path they want to get into, they are able to do this. So we've got to empower them with this sort of lifelong learning model. Otherwise, I think we will have different tests, but I don't think it's really going to solve the problem. And this is the question that I think educators around the world are trying to grapple with at this point in time. How do we, as part of our systems, prepare students to thrive in a world which is constantly changing? So it's not a prescriptive model. You can't test somebody, box them up into a certain thing and say, I think you should be doing this. It doesn't work because things change. The person will change and the world around them will change even faster than that, right? So the only way to do that is, and these are all based on, proven research that's coming out of Australia, is one, you have to empower people with self-awareness. You've got to build transferable skill sets. So they need to know, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, and these are all the different industries I can use my skill set with to earn a living or create a job or do research or whatever it is. So they need to know themselves, they need to know the world of work, they need to be able to find purpose, set a goal, short-term, flexible. They need to learn from their failures, and be more agile and adaptable. So agility and adaptability are very critical when you're living in a world where everything is changing so fast. And does a one-time test measure that? Certainly not. It can't do it. So I think we need to get realistic with our expectations of what CUET is and what it can and can't do. Now, this is the Australian model. So the model talks about competencies that young people need to develop while they're in school. It's actually a K-20 model. So you can start as early as the primary school. But I think for India, I think it may well work within, say, the start of middle school. And if you look at these domains and the competencies, these are all the things that we need to very organically and continuously keep developing in students through a number of different approaches. So it has to be curriculum based. You've got to also give them some digital tools to assess themselves, could be multiple intelligence, personality, and so on. And they need to know what to do with it. If they've got a certain value system or certain skill set, they need to know what sort of careers are aligned to it in the world of work. And technology will be able to do that very easily. They've also need to know, how to predict the job market. How do they know in the next 5 years when they are going to start working, what is the world going to look at like? There might be jobs that will come up, there might be jobs that get altered, jobs that will disappear. So they need to have, they need to make an informed decision based on a very scientific framework. But if you start this early enough, this sort of education early enough, by the time they reach the 10th standard and the 12th standard, then they would know how to make these decisions and choices. Otherwise, it can't happen just if it's one time. And therefore, it has to be a whole of school approach. We've got to have teachers trained in this, because teachers are the frontline counselors. Not every school can afford a counselor. So you've got to have teachers empowered with these competencies as well. As 21st century educators, we've got to be able to infuse these as part of across the curriculum, or minimally at least once a week, and we've got to have sort of this framework that people refer to and are able to deliver in the class, alongside the parents getting involved through activities that children can do at home, or parents getting visibility on the child's profile, and also getting new knowledge about the world of work. I think a lot of people blame parents, saying, my parents are not allowing me to do that. But I'm a parent too, and sometimes even with my child coming up with things, I need to update myself and not try and impose maybe my expectations, or try and provide advice based on my limited knowledge. So parents need to be educated too in the process. So it has to be a whole of school approach. It has to be technology enabled. It has to become part of the curriculum. You've got to have capacity building and professional development. And in Australia, the Australian Blueprint for
Racquel,
Career
could you summarize quickly, because we are running short of time? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the last one. So, the Australian model is the Australian Blueprint of Career Development is more than like a 45-year-old body of knowledge, which has all these different moving parts. So you've got a curriculum framework that can fit into any sort of school, irrespective of where it is. You've got a model where teachers can be empowered and developed continuously. You've got technology that brings the world of work into classroom, along with other interventions like structured workplace learning and things like that. And you've got a career education for parents too. So, I mean, and this is something that works very well. So the objective is to ensure that every child, irrespective of their background and their talents, is able to find the right fit and make the right choices. And you're empowering them for life beyond school. So I'd like to end with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Racquel.